This week on Breaking the Huddle.
Ulley, quarterback, gold standard, Division 2. Ulley, defense, old school, Division 1.
Robert Gouldson, all black center.
Fredette, receiver, Wolfpack, Red Ox.
Welcome to the first episode of Breaking the Huddle, the new look edition. I'm Daron, these are my guests, Jay, Rob, and Ben. So we'll get right into it. The way we're doing it this year is a little bit different than we've done it in the past years. This year we're going for a bit more of a divisional look. So this year I kind of have my Division 2 panelists. So we're gonna break things down into 4 different segments. We'll get to the other ones. Right now we're gonna start with a look at Division 2 and what's been going on so far in this season. So the first thing I want to ask you guys about, obviously all 3 of you guys have been in this league for quite a while. I know Rob and Ben have been in D2 for quite a while, actually. Jay, I mean, I know you played in D1 with the Hurricanes, but obviously you have friends in D2, you followed what's going on. You had that little stint with the Shockers in Div A, which was kind of similar to Div 2, where you helped them out, you know. So basically, my first question is, how do you feel that D2, in terms of a caliber, has changed? I'll start off with Ben on the end.
Yeah, well, I think in the past 2 years, there's a lot of parity. It's all the teams we faced, well, they're all good. Like, and if I can remember, maybe 3 years ago, it was like there were like top 10 teams, or top I should say top 6. But after that, it was below average.
You had the haves and the have-nots, basically.
Yeah, but that's it. And now, if you don't show up like ready to play, you're gonna lose that game. So I think that's what can change the most in the last few years.
All right, Rob, I'd be interested in hearing your thoughts, as you know, your team is always on that bubble there. Definitely. So I mean, you're the perfect example of parity in D2.
Well, exactly. I have to agree with him. The league is Division 2 rather is really well run, and the teams all come out to play every game. If you take a game off, you're going to lose. Again, as a team that consistently doesn't make the playoffs, but it's always like
you're always right there, though.
Yeah, last year we had 3 games to get. We could have won any 3 games, and unfortunately we didn't. But that says a lot about the league. There's a lot of teams that everyone's chasing you, and it's not easy to get a playoff spot, which is what makes Division 2 so good.
Yeah, Jay. I mean, I know that this is your virgin experience in D2 per se, but yeah.
No, I guess as an outsider,
yeah.
D2 probably have a certain impression on what D2 might be like compared to D1. And I think for myself and some of the other guys that are on my team that have played D2 before, I think it's kind of a little bit eye-opening as to how much talent there really is. Like, not just saying that we thought there wasn't any in D2, but you know the speed and the overall talent of D1, and you kind of feel like that's a notch above. But then we play D2, and you see that there's talent spread amongst all the teams. And like Ben said, the parity amongst the league is incredible. Like, every team is a solid team. We can beat you on any single night. And like I said, for me, it's my first year in it, so I'm starting to get my feet wet in a little bit. But it's, like I said, it's the talent on all the teams. And I mean, there's 14 teams, so I mean, there's a lot of teams to play against too. So it's a lot of new challenges. So definitely very competitive.
It's interesting that you touched upon the topic of D1 versus D2, because for a long time I know we had this issue where a lot of teams were not willing to jump up to D1. They were afraid, they weren't as good. But now we're starting to see a bit more. People are seeing that there isn't that big of a difference. Now, Ben, I'd like to see, since you just put in a team in D1, so obviously you're very well placed to talk about the differences. How different do you find that it actually is?
Well, I only have like 1 game, 2 games.
2 games experience, but I mean, now that you've been in D2, you've been to the finals 2 years in a row, so you've been about as high as you can get without actually winning a championship. How do you feel the difference is going into D1?
Well, in D1, it's like taking, I guess, all the best players in D2 and put them in D1, and we faced Montreal's finest this week, and it was they're playing well. So if you don't execute, you're not in the game. But I think that if a D2 team is executing and playing at a great level, they can face some D1 team. So I think more teams should give it a shot in D1. That's my point of view. Because see, with the Red Ox in D1, we're a new team. We never played together. We're just a bunch of guys that they're having fun. And obviously, well, we didn't win so far, but I believe we'll do. And so there's a difference, obviously, but it's not that big.
Okay. Now, another interesting topic is in D1 and D2, we always have this feeling that you have to earn your spot in there. You're not allowed to just jump in there. You got to start in from D3, D4. We hear a lot of higher division people saying that as well. Now, obviously, you guys have all played in the higher divisions almost exclusively up to this point. How do you guys feel about that viewpoint? Do you feel that it's merited, that you should really earn your stripes and start lower up? Or, for example, as Ben's team has done, just basically jump right into D1. Obviously, they have the caliber to keep up with them. But still, do you feel that this is a case where the team should have started in a lower division and maybe worked their way up? Jay, we'll start with you.
I think if a team feels that they can beat in Tier 1, they may as well dive right in. I know for the last couple of years, D1 has been struggling to get to grow. It was stuck at 6 or 7 teams for a couple of years. And I think if there's more teams that want to jump in and be a part of D1, then I'm all for it. D2 seems pretty big, and you got 2 different divisions. There's no point in having D2 or D3 continue to grow when there are talented teams that can make the move up to D1, and maybe they won't be a playoff team or won't be a championship team right away, but take the experience of playing top-notch players and you get better.
Yeah.
For instance, Montreal's finest, for a couple of years was on the verge of winning championships, and they found out what you had to do to win, and now they are most likely, at least on paper, the best team in the league.
Yeah.
So they know what it takes to win. So I think if there are teams that feel they're talented enough to play in D1, then I'm all for them jumping right in.
But on the other hand, just to play devil's advocate, not everyone's going to be a Montreal's finest or Hurricane, one of those top-tier teams. Now, for example, we've always heard about these teams that they want to test their mettle. They come in. I remember even my first year in the league, there was a team called, I think they were Steeltown, and they wanted to come in, and they played in D2, I think, and they lost every single game by 50 points. So you can never really gauge your spot. So that's why it's kind of a feeler-out process. Rob, do you feel the same way as Jay, or do you think that there kind of needs to be some kind of feeder system?
In a perfect world, I think it would be awesome if teams could go in and have to, win a couple of games or win a season, have a winning season in a lower division, then you moved up. But like Jay said, there's how many 30 there's a ton of teams in Division 3 and Division 4, and there's not that many in Division 2 and Division 1. If a team is good enough, I don't see the point in having them stay in the lower division and just run through the division. On top of that, it just doesn't make sense. Basically, to me.
Yeah, and if I can add, just the Red Hawks example, Mick Davidson and I were talking. We could have go D3, pick up lower level players, but we just said, hey, we want to give it a shot. We put together, I think, a decent team, and we're proud of what we've done. And now we're trying D1, and I guess if I'm thinking to last weekend's matchup, I think we gave a good opposition. So.
To a very, very good team.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, for sure, nothing to. And look, to be honest, I'm actually on board with you guys here. I was just trying to play devil's advocate there. Look, obviously, from a league's perspective, we want teams to challenge themselves as much as possible. That's kind of what we've been lacking, but it's going up in years, and that's a good thing.
I like the rule that's been instituted where if you have a returning championship team with, I think it's 5 returning players, and you're forced to move up. I think that's a good rule to have in place now. So teams can't just stay complacent and keep playing for the same division. If you're a good team and you have the same core players who are back in May,
you got no reason not to move up. Yeah, and the division dodging thing, I think, is slowly going to become a thing of the past because there's a few teams that might still try it, but I think for the most part, you want to go up and test yourself. Now, as to the style of play in Division 2, and I'm going to start with a very concrete example in that a lot of times we talk about running quarterbacks versus passing quarterbacks. Now, obviously, again, you guys have been in here for a while. Jay, obviously, you play QB for the gold standard. In the lower divisions, we have a tendency to see a lot more running quarterbacks, whereas in the higher divisions, nobody runs. Nobody will ever run. They sit back in the pocket, distribute. Now, Div 2 is kind of a tweener. So, how do you find Div 2? Do you find it's a style of play that can succeed? Yeah, but you see, Patrick Chenard did not become a championship quarterback until he started to actually play quarterback. That too. That helped too. That helped too. No, but I mean, to be fair, I mean, I'm sure you having played against Chenard, you did notice that he did improve. I mean, obviously a lot of it was toss up and hope SCC grabs it. I agree with you, but I mean, to a certain extent, he did improve, and you saw him running a lot less than he used to.
But still, what makes the Express
is Chenard.
X factor.
100%. Yeah,
So,
100%.
I mean, I've only played in Division Two for 2 games,
Yeah.
and both quarterbacks that I've played against so far haven't run. So I haven't seen a whole lot of it. I don't see why it wouldn't work. The rushes are probably better than I would say in the lower division, so maybe that would be a reason why it would work. And I think the defenses are probably a little more complex as well. But again, like I said, you have to learn from your mistakes. So if a guy comes up and he's a running quarterback and it's not working, either you adjust to the game or you don't adjust to the game, and you're going to find out either way where you belong. So like I said, there's always the exceptions. Like Patrick Chenard, I think is the exception. He's on a team right now without their top receiver, and they're still winning games and they're still competing because he is the X factor. He's exactly an athlete, and he is a good quarterback. He throws the ball well, but he also can beat the rush and change the defense and change the game. So if there are guys like that in lower divisions, I still see that it would definitely work in the top divisions.
Rob, what do you now? Obviously, you guys are a prototypical example of a whole quarterback situation. You guys had Miles Given at one point, and that was obviously by far your best season. I'm sure it was very exciting for you guys. But since then, obviously, a lot of instability at quarterback. How do you feel that the position has to be approached?
Right now, just speaking for my team, we have Chris Bridgman at QB, and he's a really shifty guy. He's not your typical QB. I constantly tell him to run more. So far in the first 2 games, he's been passing and he's putting up pretty good numbers. But I'm still going to tell him to run more.
That's in your mindset. It's not worth. It's not
for,
worth.
Well, that's it for him. He's a shifty.
Basically, stick with what got you to the dance.
Well, right now, what's getting us wins is him throwing.
Right.
But I mean, if he can get the 2 and find a perfect middle ground.
Yeah, ideally, every
exactly.
quarterback would be one of those guys.
If he could find that spot, or just keep doing what he's doing, I guess. I'll just yell at him.
All right, that's a real captain.
Yeah, exactly.
Ben, obviously you play with Pascal Murray, so he's much more of a prototypical quarterback.
With the 2 opposites.
Yeah, exactly. In D1,
with
it's different. Yeah.
Pascal, which is a great pocket passer, and he's not because he's a good pocket passer that he's not able to get out of the rush. Like he's pretty good to fill the rush, and he's buying time. Jean-Daniel Chevalier in D1, it's totally different. The guy is one of the best runners I've seen. Like he's crazy. And now I think we all agree that he needs to adjust a little bit to the D1 level and like get more accuracy on the throws. But on the long run, I think that his ability to run will bring him to the next level. I think he'll keep running and will beat teams really bad.
I have a question for you. I'm not sure if you'll answer, but do you think if you flipped quarterbacks from your D1 and your D2 team, which team would do better, which team would do worse? Do you think it would make a difference? It's okay to give me no answer.
Short term, it's hard to answer because Jean-Daniel didn't play the QB position for a long time. We're a young team, and we're all on the same page in the team. We know we're going to build on him, like with weeks, with years. So it would be unfair to answer at this level because obviously like Pascal has the experience in the league, but definitely Pascal could play D1 and Jean-Daniel could play D2.
Sure.
So, but to me they're both great.
Okay, so basically I'll have you back on in 2 years and you'll answer the question. All right, we're good.
Fine. Yeah.
Okay, so that's it with our quick little look at D2. We're gonna come back to a different segment which we're gonna call fill in the blanks. We'll be right back with you in 5 seconds. All right, fill in the blanks. So basically what we're going to do here is I'm going to basically make a sentence and they have to fill in the blanks. So I'm just going to start off with the first one. Texas All-Stars, defending Division II champions, gone. Finish. They're all split up onto a bunch of different teams. So what I want to ask you guys is, these guys splitting up and going their own ways is blank for Division II. Jay.
It's probably better for Division II to create more parity. I guess it would have been better for Division I if they would have went up and competed in Division I and made that division stronger. But I guess for Division II, it would have created more parity to have that. It will create more parity to have them all split up. So I would say it's better.
Rob.
I got to agree. It's good for Division II. Like you said, it creates parity. It's as if they went to D1, but unfortunately they have a bunch of D1 players already playing amongst our team. So, but I'd say it's good for D2.
Yeah. to me, it's an option. We could have go D1. Well, didn't do it probably because some players were planning to play D1 or I don't know. And yeah, second option they went to.
See,
Many different teams, but
I would say I have a different look on this because I think D2 this year, I mean, obviously it's very strong, but this year I think it's even stronger than in past years. So I would have liked to see them come back and see if they could have kept up with what everybody's cooking this year.
I find when teams win as consistently as they did last year,
dominated.
you should move up. I think if
Yeah.
they had they stayed, people would have accused them of dodging Division 1. So.
Yeah. Well, that's it. I find the division dodging argument is slowly petering out because D2 is. I think you could see just the caliber is different from last year right off the bat. Next question. Now, Gino DeFazio is obviously well known in league circles for putting together these super teams. It's like an all-star bonanza. And we're looking at. I was just watching the game, the Mercenaries game against the G-Man yesterday, and that team is ridiculous. Big names from a bunch of different teams, all all-stars. There's very few actual role players on that team. Now, for you guys, someone building a team like that is blank.
It's good for them if they can do it and it works. I mean, something like that probably takes weeks for it to merge, or if it'll work at all.
Do you think it can work?
I think it can work.
Yeah.
It depends on, I guess, how they all gel, like how all the characters come together. I mean, if there's too many egos, obviously it won't work. I don't know any of them personally,
Okay.
so I can't say that it won't or will or won't. I know for myself, we put together a pretty solid team, and we all get along. So I mean, it works for us. Their team obviously is probably on paper more stacked than ours. So.
But the comparison with your team is, for example, you guys obviously have all the touch experience outdoors. You guys all play with each other. These guys, it's a bunch of little subgroups. So that's why it kind of makes me pose the question.
I think in indoor, you could probably get away with, a lot of times you could probably get away with just being a better athlete than maybe some of your opposition. So I think it can work. Like I said, it still has to be able to gel together, but I think it can definitely work.
All right. Rob, what's your thoughts on that?
I'd say it's strategic. I mean, there's a pretty comprehensive rule book, and if he manages to put the best team together while abiding by the rules, that's good for him. I played with Gino before. I'm friends with him, so.
Yeah, but I mean, like, let's say, personally speaking, obviously All Blacks, your core has been pretty much the same throughout.
Absolutely.
And so is that something you could ever see yourself doing?
No,
Since strategically speaking.
Yeah, as a captain, I wouldn't do that. Just because the thrill of winning with your friends, I find, is tenfold, 100 times.
And with no doubt, I would agree with you. But even with that point, do you think it's feasible? Is it even doable? Do you think it's that kind of team can win? Because if you look in the history of Flag Plus, that kind of team has never won. The closest anyone came was the championship in Spring Division A this past season.
I definitely agree with you, but if you do it this early on in the season, a lot of times friendships can grow, teams can really bond, and by the end of the season, we might not even be thinking, oh, it's like a team that's mishmashed put together. We might be thinking, oh, it's like such a tight-knit group that runs such good plays. I don't know.
If I had to guess, I'm going to say no on that one, but it'll be interesting to follow for sure. Ben, what's your take?
well, that's not our approach.
Yeah.
Wolfpack, we're playing together since the beginning, 4 or 5 years ago. And look, when Pascal is not able to show up because he's away or something, well, we're not going to pick up like the best QB available. We have like Michel Carrier on our team, and he's not playing often at the QB position, but we keep the same group of guys, and over years, we'll keep bringing them back because that's what we believe is our force. We know each other, and while Gino's approach is totally different with that team, we'll see at the end of the year.
Okay. If, for example, I'll a little follow up to that. If a team like that, if let's say Gino, for example, comes up to you and says, "Hey, come play on my team. You know nobody on my team, but you're a good player. I've seen you play, and we have a good chance to win a championship." Would you go?
I've been playing in this for long enough now that the thing that I enjoyed, obviously, like when I was with the Hurricanes in week 1, we were all friends. It wasn't an amazing feeling to win with your friends. But the idea, the thing that keeps me coming out every year is the fact that you play with your friends and you get to hang out with them. Afterwards you get to go out together and you bond. So I would never, and I thought about this before. I would never play with a team where I knew nobody would have to come on. I was like, I'm loyal, so I would
Rob?
Assuming I didn't have to ditch any of my boys,
Yeah.
I probably would.
You would?
If they seem like a good group of guys, I'd probably go.
Yeah? Okay. And Ben?
No, well, I'll stick to my.
So your guys, you
Yeah,
wouldn't even...
because I don't see like winning is good.
Yeah.
Winning with your friends, there's nothing better than that. Like
Yeah.
that's how you build rivalry every year because you're with the same group of guys, and that's how you enjoy the win.
Well, that's the big word here, rivalry, which takes me to my next question. So Ben's making the segues for me, which I appreciate. The next question now, Division 2 was long known as the division of rivalries. We had the best rivalries in Division 2 by far. In Division 1, there weren't enough teams. Division 3, they kept changing, and 4 and 5 are too new. But in Division 2, we had Shockers Monarchs, we had the Click Clack at the time, who were feuding with a lot of people, Phoenix, who feuded with everyone in the league. Really, we had a lot of good stuff happening here, and obviously, like for example, Wolfpack All Blacks, you guys have both been around for a very, very long time, so I'm sure you guys have your own rivalries. So it's kind of a two-part question again in this one. Now I want to know, I'm asking you individually, my biggest rival right now, if I had to pick one in the league, in the Division 2 is, and then the other question I would ask, and you can answer both because I'm well aware that D2 has changed a lot this past year, is in the past, what has been the biggest rival? Now, obviously for you, it's a one-part question since you haven't been in D2 before. But so Jay, start us off. If you had to pick a biggest rival in Division 2 right now.
If I had to pick our biggest rival in Division 2, I would have to go with the Kings simply because Carmen is probably the best quarterback in indoor football. So, I feel like we have to beat him, and he's always going to be, a tough competition. So, going on, we haven't played 2 games in Division 2, and not really have a history in Division 2. I'll just simply answer the Kings just for that.
Okay, Rob, your rival right now, if you had to pick one.
I'd say it would be the G. Click Clack.
Former Click Clack.
Yeah,
member,
it's not a great rivalry. They beat us every year, and we never have our quarterback. But just because we keep losing them, it's really frustrating.
So it's going to feel real good when you pull that one off.
When we beat them, I would, I'm
Okay.
celebrate.
And if we went in past history through your years in D2, what do you think would have been your biggest rival?
In the past history?
Yeah.
Again, I'd have to say
Sit them again.
Click Clack. Yeah.
Yeah.
First year, one of my players got a terrible injury. So
Okay. From who?
from Click Clack.
Okay. But you remember the name? You want to call him out?
No, actually, I don't.
You don't?
remember.
Okay,
it was a
doesn't
complete accident.
Oh,
we
okay.
just got fired up.
Okay, that's understandable. Ben,
Well,
right now, a present, if you have one.
this
in
year is
front.
hard to say because
Yeah, a lot of guys are gone.
many teams changed and stuff. We played the gold standard last week, and yeah, we feel like we didn't play our best game. So if we face them later in the year, I can tell you that'll be a good rivalry.
Okay.
Hopefully we'll end up winning that one. But
Rob, what do you think? Which side do you want to win? We're split down the middle here.
I'll go.
Tie.
No, I'll go with this team.
All right.
Just I don't know.
2-on-1,
I
Jay.
like this.
Alright.
Wolfpack. I like Wolfpack.
Come out swinging, Jay. Come out swinging. All right, Ben. But
yeah.
getting back to you on this one.
And in the past, we had like great rivalries. Click Clack, obviously, but that's a fun rivalry because we played these guys. They're a good group of guys. Like they're just fun to play. But we had like worst rivalries, I should say. Like obviously like Phoenix. And I can't remember like the time the QB like snapped the ball right in the face of the rusher. Like at some point wasn't fun.
Yeah.
So that's what we didn't enjoy. But yeah, Click Clack was a great rivalry.
All right. Well, to continue those rivalries, obviously you'd have to go into different divisions and seek out those guys. So in the end, we're glad you're still in Division 2. So that's it for Fill in the Blanks. We're going to come out with the next segment, which is Top 5. Top 5 was scrapped due to lack of funds. I guess FPF, there's no money left in the piggy bank. So we're going to go straight to Commish for a Day, and this is where we ask each of you guys, if you were commissioner or president or whatever it is Robert Campana is of this league, for a day and you had the power to make a change, what's the change you would institute to make this league better or more fun for you? Jay.
I guess there's a few things I'd probably change. Not many, but the one thing, and I've mentioned it to Rob in the past, I know it's hard to institute, but I would absolutely make mouth guard mandatory. I've seen some vicious collisions. I've seen 2 of my own teammates collide with each other, both having to go to the hospital. One guy, for instance, was told straight by the doctor that had he not been wearing his mouth guard, he might have broken his neck. So So I would absolutely, with the tight spaces and the speed of the games, I would absolutely make non-throws mandatory, even for those without speed. I would also get rid of the megaphone. Can't stand that. Not that I hear it a lot. When I do hear it, I just want to throw a football at it.
Okay, you can't stand the megaphone or the guy behind the megaphone?
It's just the megaphone. It's the megaphone.
Okay. Because I can't stand the guy behind the megaphone, but it's all right.
And the last thing is just, it's a little thing that annoys me, and it's, I think that, I understand that there's emotions that go into games, and I still think the sportsmanship has to be part of it. Can't stand people that, when you pull off your belt, they throw it, and they throw it like 10 yards away, and, you have to go get it. I think that the belt should be given back to the guy. I know it might seem like a small thing, but I just think it's a real annoyance. It's very irritating.
It's a good point, because in the rules committee we actually brought this up a lot, especially that last one, and that's kind of where a lot of problems seem to start. There's certain particular players who do it a lot in Division 1 particularly. No. Someone named, well, I'm not going to name names because he scares me a little bit. But to be fair, it's a very good point, especially on that one, because a lot of friction does start from that. And the rule that we did institute is that you can't throw it 18 miles down the field now anymore. You have to be show a little bit of class. But taking it to the next step, I think, would be to hand the flag back. But it's a good improvements there. Yeah.
How, I would create boiling points just off that.
Certainly.
You can't kick it either. I think
No.
Mo knows. Yeah.
Mo knows football. And he knows how to kick flags too. Rob, what changes would you make?
I have two changes I'd make. One is the exact opposite of his. I really like the microphone. I like having
So that's not really a change. You're just reinforcing the
Well, just everyone should have it. I love hearing the scores. Not having to go up and ask the scorekeeper.
Okay.
Sometimes you're in a tight game and
you can't hear.
Yeah,
you ask him to repeat it. He's writing down.
Exactly. So that's one of the changes I'd make. And the other one would be I would prefer if it was just 1 footing bounds on catches. There's a lot of guys in this league. We're not pros, so I think it would make it maybe a little easier for the refs to call it too. I also have terrible feet, so it would make it easier.
Just personally speaking, it's interesting.
I'd have more catches, so
all right.
So I think those would be my two.
All right, Ben.
I don't know why, but I hate the concept of a tie.
Okay.
Maybe I know there's a time issue in that.
Yeah.
That's probably the reason why there's ties. But just maybe like you have one shot at the 5-yard line, and it's 1 point. And if it's not happening, well, it's a tie. But at least just giving you one shot to do that one play that'll make you win. And at the end of the day, it's so especially in D2, the rankings are tight. So that point's gonna change the whole picture. So I would like to see that.
Well, that would definitely be interesting. I mean, even in the playoffs, for example, the few times we've had the shootout format, it's been really exciting to see. So
I've been in one.
It's something.
We lost, so
but at least you were there.
It was
exciting until the end.
It was very exciting. Yeah.
All right. So individual questions now. The first question I'm going to ask is to my man Jay Ulley. So Jay, obviously you've been in this league for a while. You started off with the Hurricanes, and you've been kind of known, I wouldn't say necessarily as a role player, but you were never the star or the focal point of the team. You did your job, you were a good team player, and that was the end of it. Now you've been thrust into this position as quarterback of the Gold Standard. It's a team that's almost a mega team, a lot of big names we've all heard before. How do you feel having this pressure put on you? Does it change the way you prepare for the game? Does it change your mentality as a player?
Well, I mean, considering when I did D1, role player or not, I was a defensive player, not an offensive player. It definitely changes my mindset. I'm completely focused like the entire week on how to get better and how to improve from game to game. And there is a lot of pressure, and I feel that pressure at times because obviously, I see the team that's around me, and I feel like it's a championship team, and kind of the same thing that happened to me. I started playing quarterback in the summer in touch, and we are a good team. And if you don't have success, you feel like there's a reason why you don't have success. So, I have a great guy with guys around me, and I know that they're willing to, fight through the rough patches with me as well. Week one was pretty rough. My performance was not stellar, so we came over to win. So, and that's the other reason why, that's the good thing about our team is that, our defense was probably one of the top ones in the league. So, we can rely on each other when somebody's having a rough game. And, I also feel confident in the fact that, as a guy who's been a role player or however you want to be it. I'm a team player, so if for instance I was having a rough game and things weren't going well, I could always turn to Mike McNair or Scott Conway if I felt like maybe they could boost our team at that moment. So, my preparation is definitely different. I have to, and I don't know a lot of the teams that are going in, so I can't focus on them. I focus on us all the whole time, but there's definitely a lot more mental preparation from let's say Monday to Friday night, so like even till Saturday for game night. Then there was back when I just played my part and I did what my responsibility was. Now I have to take my things and it's that whole cliche of having to play chess. You're trying to take one in your head all the time. Whereas when I was playing corner, I was just more or less getting cool, playing this, you do this.
And the quick follow-up is, do you prefer that, or do you kind of...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I was a quarterback in CJIP, and I had to play quarterback a long time, so, I like being looked at. I've always felt like I was a good leader regardless of my role in the team. So now I feel like I'm in a leadership role, and I'm okay with that. I definitely can handle that, and I feel like, personally, like playing quarterback is now like in my career. Athletically, it's not as great as career. So I haven't had that athleticism to play quarterback for a while. So I like playing quarterback. I have a good time with it, and I feel like this year will be a good experience for me. I mean, I played a couple of a handful of games for the Shocker, and I never really got a true feel for plus it was the spring league. It's definitely different.
And it's not necessarily your guys either.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I got a little feel for the game itself, but this will be a good experience for me. And I feel like this is where I belong. Like, and that's exactly how I felt when I played outside in the summer, like in tournaments. And after playing a couple games, I got comfortable and I realized like that's what I'm meant to be doing.
All right.
I don't know how much longer I'm doing this, but
You'll enjoy it while it's happening.
Exactly.
It's good to hear. All right, Rob. Now, obviously, All Blacks. You always get the short end of the stick. Every season, we don't talk about you until it's playoff time, and then we're always like, the All Blacks are probably not going to make it, or the All Blacks are in tough, or they need to win 3 games in a row to make it, and then they win 2 in a row, and everyone's like, oh my God. But anyways, getting back to the All Blacks, we talk about the same 2 guys all the time, and one of them hasn't been on the team for 4 years. It's Miles Gibbon. We talk about Chris Bridgman a bit because he's a quarterback, because back in the day on the flag plus wall, he used to be a bit more active, and so I want you to give some love to some guys on the All Blacks who really deserve to get more praise, who are maybe the guys who make the motor run and will make this a successful season for the All Blacks.
The first guy would definitely be Evan Cook. He's our defensive captain and really prides himself on keeping our defense competitive. He plays really aggressive, lights a fire under a lot of our guys, and it makes a huge difference having a guy like that on the team. Other than that, we had Adam Ferguson, who we lost this year, but he was definitely a big part of our team.
And how do you feel about the quarterback position? Since you guys have lost Miles, it's really been a state of flux. Have there been any attempts to try and get a top flight quarterback or somebody who could fit in with you guys? Or do you feel like that's what you guys need?
We got really spoiled by Miles and thought that it would just be easy to find ridiculous quarterbacks everywhere. Right now, I think that we're good where we are with Chris. He's learned to play QB slowly, and hopefully he can get us to the playoffs and maybe more. But we have tried to find, even this year we tried to find a QB because Chris does like playing receiver, or just even to have a backup. But we have tried to find a few guys.
Okay, any names? Or
No,
gonna keep them under wraps?
No.
All discussions are secret?
Exactly.
Okay, until you land the big fish.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Ben, obviously you've been on the Wolfpack, 2-time finalist, but lost both times.
Yeah.
Easiest question in the world for me to think of is, what are the Wolfpack missing at this point
Well,
to get over that hump and win that championship?
yeah, it's hard to say. We went in the final and B3 back 4 years ago, and 2 finals in a row in the last 2 years. And at the end, I don't know, it's just like it's not happening, but we have the group of guys to make it happen. For this year, I can say that maybe we lost Gracia Mwembo because of an injury, and he's a great, he's a big chunk of our defense. So we'll probably need to fix something in defense for this year. We'll see after that, but I guess that's what we could had, because with Pascal Murray, Mike Davidson, Kevin, Jeff Legault, the same group of guys, they know how to win. These guys are winners. So.
And is there any worry on your end that the window might be closing for the Wolfpack? Because obviously 2 years ago you guys made the finals and you lost. Last year you made the finals, but you barely made it to the playoffs to begin with, and you guys had to get really hot at the end. Do you feel like, especially now that D2 is moving higher and you guys seem to be getting closer and closer to that bubble, do you guys fear that the window is closing? And if so, is there anything you guys can change to kind of get off to a better start?
Well, that's a good question for an early season.
Yeah.
I mean, for the early part of the season.
Yeah.
We're like diesel machine. We're starting slowly but surely. Like so, last year what happened was terrible. Like we didn't play well till middle of the season, and then we had to battle for a playoff spot. We were in playoff mode for like the last 7 weeks. But I hopefully that's going to happen this year again. We didn't have a great start so far, but we know, like I said, that getting back to what we said earlier, I think that's the difference when you're playing with the same group of guys. You can rely on the guy beside you, and we believe that's going to make a difference. So hopefully we'll be on top of the end.
All right. Well, I'm going to give you guys a chance. Last words. Trash talk towards the rest of the league, or anything you wanted to get off your chest, and I haven't given you the opportunity to. Shame on me. But so Jay, we'll start with you. Last words.
I got nothing really to say other than shame.
All right, Rob.
I would trash talk my opponent for next week who's beside me, so
So go ahead. That's perfect timing.
It's okay.
I'll save it for the field.
It's boring. All right, Ben.
Well,
Trash talk him. Come on. You know he wants to.
We'll see on the field, but no, we've been in the league for many years, and it's just great. And I would encourage more teams to go D1. Like seriously, like give it a shot, bring the best. That's what I suggest.
Great final words from Ben and Rob and Jay. That's it from us here at Breaking the Huddle. We will see you here next week. But until then, I got no one to throw to, so have a good night.